Hi, this is Paul Dufresne. I'm training for courage. I'm going to do a segment on one of the most important topics I feel that we could do in horse training. We're going to be practicing the shoulder in on a circle, leading into a shoulder in on a straight. You can teach the shoulder in on a straight. Um, Firstly, if you'd like, I tend to prefer the shoulder in the circle because horses like this anxious mare, who's 16 years old, has had next to nothing for training. She hasn't really been abused, but what she has is that nobody's facilitated it for her to feel good about being around human beings. So her response to most things is just run away from it. And that's been working well for her. Unfortunately, not anymore. Because I would like her to be useful and I would like her to feel a whole lot better about things. So I'd like her to feel like she can stay and play and not feel like she has to run away and be scared of everything, because that is hard on a horse. We're choosing the shoulder in a circle because it's a posture exercise. And when we teach the horse to assume the correct posture, they will be as strong as possible, last as long as possible, and be as athletic as possible. But the cool thing is that if you affect the shoulder in properly, you actually will cause a horse to stimulate the reflexes in its body to relax. And as it relaxes and feels better, well, then the horse is just going to be a happier horse. And it'll be a lot more inclined to want to follow our lead, especially if we're doing things that might be physically, emotionally, or mentally challenging. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use it in a circle because some horses who have a tendency to want to run away from things, it's really nice if they don't pull the owner around and drag them around, as some horses can. So if I allow this horse to be light on the line, to come into a good shape and position and emotionally feel good about things, she's going to be inclined to want to stay and listen to what I might have to offer, what I might be suggesting. But if, on the other hand, if all she does is feel like this is too much for her and she's going to want to leave, and we don't want her to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start forward. And we don't want to be pulling the horse forward. We want the horse to be pushing itself from the hind end. So any exercise that we do on the ground, we want it to be transferable to when we're riding. So when I'm riding, if I have a horse that doesn't understand forward, the first thing I do is move the forequarters over and then push it from behind. Oop. And that's a good enough start already. We don't need to do a ton more. I relax my body, allow her to come down, and relax as well. All right? We don't need to go all day. If I ask her questions that just go on and on and on, she's going to start feeling overwhelmed and she'll want to leave. And she's not going to have time to process what it is I'm asking her. So I'm going to ask her again. I move the forequarter over, drive, and then we're on a circle. Now, as you saw just before she stopped, I put a bit of pressure with my knuckles. That's why I carry the whip this way. I can push the hind end with the end of the whip this way, or press with my fist gently into her rib cage till I feel her move away. When I do that, that'll accentuate her bend, stimulate her reflex to relax, but also tell her that she shouldn't be leaning on my leg. When I give a horse leg on the inside leg and I touch, that horse should bend around that leg. So if I was doing it correctly, if I press with my leg, that horse should bend. All right, and that's what I wanted to do. So I'm going to set it up again, the start of a circle, shoulder, rib cage, drive. All right, and the finish. I just relax my lead hand, allow her to come down, and that's pretty good for her. She's actually coming down. Of course, she had two other takes that just got foiled by extraneous noises, so she did get a little bit more of a warm-up than I was actually planning on having. I wanted her rather fresh so you could see her response, but already she's starting to connect to my energy, and surprisingly enough, it's fairly relaxed right now, considering that I've had malfunctions with the equipment. So we're going to try it again. All right. So as I get her going and I set her up a little bit more for the shouldering on the circle, I'm going to want to have her elevated. So what I do is I just elevate right underneath the chin. This is why I love it when I have a horseman's halter that is not way up here. I find way too many of the Bozels or the horseman's halter are too generic and they don't fit. I like to see it from the top of the nostrils that were about 3 or 4 fingers away. Ideally for me, I'd like it right here. Okay, it's a little bit like when I used to train with Peruvian Bozels. We used to want, in any Bozel, is we want them to be sitting on bone. This is cartilage out here. We don't want to put pressure on cartilage. So as soon as the bony part starts, that's where we want the noseband to fit. The reason being that the noseband in this position here allows me to affect bend in the horse with the most amount of leverage and least amount of effort from me. And it makes it easier for the horse to understand what it is I'm signaling. All right? So if I had, let's say, a California Bozel, I would elevate from underneath. If I needed bend, I would control from the noseband. All right? And the whole idea is we're not going to wrestle with the horse. We're going to ask it nice and quietly, and a little bit at a time, so it starts to understand what it is we're asking, and so we're not getting into a muscle match because she's got me outmatched. And if I want her to feel like staying with me, that's not going to do it. Just trying to outmuscle her is pointless. So what we want to do is we want to cause her to feel good and understand the question that's being asked. So I'm going to move the feet, drive from behind, a little bit more bend. My hands underneath the chin right there. Just ask for a little bit more forward, a little bit more bend. I raise her chin. So if you watch right about there, and you saw her lips going, she's getting a little bit anxious there. Don't worry about that too much. Okay, and she's starting to cross on the hind end. Stop. So I just raise her a little bit more to stop. Then I allow the energy in my upper body to relax. I want her to connect on the relaxation phase. For this horse to carry itself with the best conformation possible, to be as athletic as possible, it's going to be more of a learned thing. All right? Some horses, as the Iberian horses, that's one of the reasons why I like to raise them, is that they tend to have a very athletic, collected posture on their own quite nicely. So for some horses, they'll have to work a little bit harder at it. She's very upright, more so than, let's say, a quarter horse or anything like that. But on the other hand, she can invert herself a little bit easier and hide it. All right? So we want this horse to be able to bend so it can't invert itself or counterflex. All right? Counterflex is not the same as counterbend. So again, I'm going to move shoulders forward, bend. Now if you watch, as I'm coming around here, I can take a quick peek and notice that the hindquarters are starting to cross. So on the shoulder in on the circle, the forelimbs are going to be going rather straight, and the hind legs are going to be crossing. So that means that the horse is traveling further with its hind end than its fore. That's why this is such a good collection exercise. The elevation, by having it more upright, is going to move the center of gravity back. So watch, if I just relax this hand here, and that's pretty good. She actually relaxed her top line pretty good. She actually lengthened her neck, which is good for her. She has a tendency to be really quite tight, but she's connecting on the downward face quite well. So when I raise her, it's going to move the center of gravity up and then back to the hind end. Right now she's a little strung out. But as soon as I move the shoulders over and then I ask her to engage, she will start to come underneath herself. So to the side and then under. And again, this is We're not looking to go very fast. Come around. We lost a little bit of energy. I'll ask her again. Little bit of pressure from my fist on her rib cage. She's losing her bend a little bit there. Drive. Forward. To a stop where I elevate. And I could even elevate and move it to a backup. And then release. And when I release, I don't just let go. All right. Too often I find that when people are training their horse, and some of the horsemanship, everybody says, well, you have to have a release, and you do. The problem is that people think that the release is I just let it go, and then the horse is basically running off, or you have to bring it back. So when I'm riding it, I want the release to be soft so that the horse knows that I'm rewarding it. But I don't want to totally let it go, because then now if I have to collect this horse again, I have to bring all of the pieces back together. So what will happen is the horse could have a tendency to kind of fall over itself, or get anxious and running as I try to put it back together. So I do want to release, but I want it smooth and slow. All right, and again, to start, we'll do it the other way. All right, so I just move the shoulders over, nose, shoulders, and then forward. So right there, she's starting to cross pretty good. Right there with the hind end. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. And stop. Release. And let it go. All right. Now I started on her left side because that's where we have to do more retraining with her. She has a little bit more forward on the right side because she's had less training on this side. And this side is actually going to be easier for me to train on the right side because there's less previous patterns of behavior that I'm going to have to change because people have just spent less time training this side. So again, head, shoulder, and here we go. So as the horse starts to get the idea, I start to look more forward on that track. I may take the odd glimpse behind just to make sure that she's crossing behind. So she's just a little bit worried about the touch of the whip on the hind end. Oh. So I just reassured her. I pushed her a little bit and I said, yeah, I need you forward. Don't panic. All right, the whip is just a tool, it's just an extension. She shouldn't be running away from it. That's not what I want her to do. Again, allow her to come down. So my hand just moved on that side and she started to panic again. I don't worry about that. All I do is I stay calm. All right, we're going to set her up again. Now what's going to happen is that because she's not trying to run away, if I want to, I can let go of the line or you can keep it in your hand. I don't mind walking around the line because I'm not going to be going that fast. As I start going on that circle, and if the shape is correct, and I've got the right engagement on the hind end, all I'll do is I'll allow the circle to go a little bit wider, and I'm to the point where, well, maybe I might just go straight. And then on the stop, I'll allow her to move her hind end underneath and let it go. Connect and relax. Do we want an on switch? We want an off switch. We want to make sure that we have both. Switch the rein. I don't change my feet. All I do is I change her head, shoulder will follow, and drive. I'm raising her bend, The bend in the neck could be a little bit better. Right there. And keep her forward. If she's balanced enough on that circle, if I was to raise my left hand a little bit more with sufficient bend and have a little bit of pressure on the rib cage, she should not only go from a shoulder in on a circle, she'll actually start to leg yield on the circle. If she can't leg yield on the circle when I press into her rib cage and ask her to move over, it's because she's leaning too much to the inside. If that horse is balanced, it takes nothing to move it over. To a stop, where she's just slightly underneath herself, and ask her to back up. And relax. So when she relaxes, I'm looking to see if I stimulated her correctly. She's going to be salivating. She'll be a little bit tense when we posture in the exercise and that, because I'm asking her a question. When I allow the energy to come down and she starts to come down, that compression on her rib cage and the pole flexion, by raising her pole up like that on that bend, she'll start to salivate. She can't help that. That's a reflex in her. Okay? And she'll actually salivate as soon as the things start to relax. That's why we don't want to go too long. If we go too long, that horse, we might be stimulating those reflexes to relax, but they're not getting a chance to just totally engage so that the horse can feel good. So what will happen, she'll start to become more and more settled. So that's why shorter tries are a good idea. And again, this is a training video for people who are learning to train. So if you're learning to train and the horse is learning to train, you might want to keep your tries fairly short, because otherwise you may well frustrate the horse if you're not doing it correctly, and then they're paying the price for your learning curve. If you're doing it correctly, having that balance of ask a question, cause the horse to feel good, let it relax. Ask a question, put the horse in the right shape, in the right move, create your forward. Horse complies, let it relax. That tells it, yeah, you did pretty good. You're on the right track. Good, I like that. Again, head out, shoulder, and forward from behind. Needs a little bit more bend. Anytime she needs a little bit more bend, I can actually ask for a little bit more bend by asking her to bring her nose inside a little bit more, but also keeping pressure with the hand here so that she just doesn't move over this way like a piece of wood. She'll tend to move like the whip. If I keep the pressure here, then she'll tend to bend. All right? But also that pressure on that rib cage is actually going to stimulate her to relax. So that actually ends up being a bonus for us. All right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the shoulder in on the circle and move it towards the rail then I'll take it on a short straight. All right? So what I'll do is I'll move her over, head, shoulder, forward, so she's just getting a little bit stuck because of the rail being there. She's feeling the pressure of the rail. I don't worry about that too much. I can always just reset her, start my circle again, and I'll bring her closer to the rail. And get my forward again. You see how she just got stuck there? All we do is ask for a little bit more bend, bring her inside, press on the rib cage, then ask for forward with the whip. And again, that was a try. And let her relax. All right, she's not going to go right across the arena right away. I might be able to pull it off, but the point is that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, is she starting to get enough confidence to start guessing better and better? Am I changing the posture enough where she's going to have to start to relax doing it, and she's not going to feel so anxious trying that she'll actually give me a pretty good guess. So I want her to feel good about these guesses. So again, I'll set her up again. Head, shoulder. So my circle out this way, need my forward. Start to straighten out a little bit. She's trying to race, I just slow her up. I don't worry about it. I'll set her up again. That wasn't bad. That's pretty good. And that's enough. So she's feeling a little bit of the pressure from the rail as we go near the rail. So that's quite normal because she feels like she's stuck between me and the rail. So she feels like it's her path is inhibited. So I want to give her a chance to realize that she's not going to be in trouble for being in between those two. So I don't need to be right against the rail. All right. If you wanted to, once the horse starts to have the idea, I could have the horse closer to the rail. We have to remember in the shoulder in, when we do the shoulder in, the shoulder has to be in. If the shoulder isn't away from the rail at least 2-3 feet here, this horse won't be able to cross the hind end without hitting the rail. So now if I get my bend from this position and I ask her to come forward, I could do this from a backward position. I'll ask the forward. There's my bend, razor. And stop her. We didn't go very far. Okay? But the whole thing is that, watch, if I just let this tone right down, she's going to start to come right down. So, if I start, again, the same thing, if I get greedy and I start looking, I want to go from one end of the arena to the other, I'm going to make it very hard for this horse to be successful. And then even though she's guessing pretty good, she's going to just feel like this is too much because you're asking. And she doesn't feel that she's necessarily being rewarded for what she's doing, and she should be. Okay, so again, I'm going to ask her to come forward, get my bend. I don't worry about the bend unless I get my forward, get my bend. So if you see that right there, I'm sure you can see it from the angle there. Her front feet are traveling in a forward track. The hind feet are crossing. And what she's actually doing is that when this leg crosses, it lands there. This one here lands here. And this one lands here. And that one lands there. That's why it's called a forward track. They're not following each other. They all have their separate track. All right, and that wasn't bad. So what will happen is that if I keep practicing the shoulder in on the circle and then down the straight, what will happen to this horse is that it's going to learn that it can go on a bend and keep its weight balanced. So even though we didn't do that many tries right now, what we could do, as soon as I give her a bit of a chance here to get the feel good from the exercise, and those reflexes that have kicked in to start to relax are starting to take effect. So she's salivating a little bit longer. The muzzle started to get a little bit more relaxed. The eyes getting more quiet. There's more softness in the body. But when she starts to get this, what will happen is that if I just send her out on a circle, and I asked her to do a circle, after practicing the shoulder ends on a circle, her actual circle is going to have an improvement in it. So even when she did that circle right there, she was quite balanced. There was almost as much weight on the inside floor as there was the outside floor. The horse that does not bend correctly throughout its body is inclined to put a lot more weight on the inside. Because what will happen is that by being stiff, their head has a tendency to go to the outside and invert, and then the inside shoulder falls in. The horse that's learned to do a shoulder in learns to balance correctly and to stay soft in the body. So what happens, it allows them to track on that circle and bend correctly and not feel anxious about it. And as you notice, she's not heavy in the line. So again, I'll send her the other way and we'll just check out her circle. I asked her to go out. Just calm her down. I don't need her trotting. I just want to, right now, all I'm doing is doing a test. So in that right towards the end there, she was actually starting to lean inside. So by my stopping her and bending her, as she raised up and did this, she actually balanced herself, like in a half halt. So that was actually rather effective. All right. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to just stop this. This is just to give people an idea how you do it in a standard way doing this. I have some other skills that I can help this mare with. A lot of people don't know much about endo tapping, and it's a shame because it'll actually make it even easier for this mare to let go of her anxiety, feel better about everything. So what will happen is that her resilience to her being willing to accept my lead is going to be so much better. So it kind of builds in a forgiveness factor. So I'm just going to stop the video shortly here, and I'm just going to go change my whip, and I'll come back and I'll show you how I would do with endo tapping for those that want to use all the skills that are possible, that you can facilitate this horse understanding and getting to be a better riding horse with the least amount of grief.